Hello, everybody. It's January 25, 2025, and I'm going to continue with the tactics part 4 on the hidden evil. So here we go. An additional tactic that's utilized in gang stalking and organized harassment, community stalking, cause stalking, vigilante stalking, is space invasion and crowding. Space invasion includes blocking, cutoff, swarming, or what some TIs refer to as crowding. Targets may be encircled by people wearing colors or holding objects that they've been sensitized to. Prolonged crowding can have an extremely negative effect on your emotional and mental health. The people who designed this harassment program were obviously well aware of this. Body language is more accurate and reliable than verbal communication, and most of this nonverbal communication is unconscious. The study of this language has been called social kinetics, the study of body communication. There are two components to this communication. One contains movements, gestures, postures, and the other is spatial relationships. The study of communication using distance space is called proxemics, Proxemics. For most North Americans, the intimate zone is 0 to 18 inches, and personal space is 1 to 4 feet. This type of communication is used to harass a person. For instance, while in stores, restaurants, and public places that are not busy, a target will have people invading their personal space. This happens even when there are only 2 customers in a store. If a targeted person makes a move from one place to another, several people may suddenly appear and jump out in front of him and around corners and aisles. The deliberate space invasion used by these people is designed to look like normal cutoffs and collisions that we all experience from time to time. It can happen with vehicles, on foot, or in combination. This type of space invasion is obviously intended to startle people and make them tense. It can be thought of as a virtual slap. They're used to bind areas such as corners, hallways, restrooms, intersections where the targets have people or cars cutting them off or almost hitting them in a calculated manner. This happens in stores, buildings, and on the street with people and vehicles. With some artificially induced cutoffs, the perpetrator is seen at a distance. The target and the perpetrators are heading toward the same focal point, which is used to maximize crowding. The point may be a corner, a very small walkway, a thin passageway, or an obstruction on the sidewalk, such as a telephone pole or a tree. The informants adjust their timing so that they meet the target at exactly the same point where there is the least amount of space for all parties to pass, thus maximizing the invasion of the target's space. Apparently, the idea is to get the target's attention and make them uncomfortable. When standing at a checkout line, targets may routinely have group members standing a foot or closer behind them, and rather than wait for a target to leave, they may crowd them as they reach to the side or the front of the target to put their items on the counter. If a target is outdoors in a populated area, he or she may see a wave of people move in the direction that they're headed in order to swarm them. If a target moves, then stops and waits for a few moments, they may see all the activity will settle back to normal again after the horde passes. This test can be run indoors and outdoors as well. Sometimes the horde may blatantly adjust their timing or linger for a while until the target begins to move again, and then they'll continue. I mean, this behavior is just absolutely absurd. Just absolutely absurd. These crowding and blocking techniques amount to an obstacle course that follows people wherever they go. They will also block targets on foot with vehicles. For instance, when a target leaves a parking lot, a vehicle or person will be in the way, usually for a few moments. These things happen to everyone once in a while, but for targets it happens consistently regardless of the time of day or how busy the area is. The space invasion happens on a day times that are normally not many people. It happens in stores while making purchases, restaurants, businesses where targets have people frequently cutting them off, invading their space, using sensitivity programs or other harassment tactics. If there is one customer in the store, they will probably be invading the target space. For instance, a TI is indoors when it's not crowded, but witnesses multiple people who, instead of taking the shortest path to their destination, go double or triple the distance just so they can brush by them or cut them off. Here's one personal example, which took place at the YMCA in Boston shortly after I realized I was being gang stalked. At the time, there were 4 people, including myself, at the weight room. After I was there for a few moments, I noticed there was an unusual amount of weight banging. It was louder and more repetitive than it normally is. I've been exercising and going to health clubs for about 15 years, and I immediately recognized that these few people were repeatedly going out of their way to make as much noise as possible. I sat down on the bench and started doing dumbbell presses. 2 students walked in, stood on either side of the bench I was sitting on, and began to do lateral arm raises, blatantly invading my personal space. There was no special equipment that they were using in that area. I noticed one had a shirt on that said something like, quote, "The most important part of playing rugby is support," unquote. Anyone who can't wait a few minutes for you to finish and needs to stick their arms in your face is probably doing it on purpose. In addition, the exercise that they're doing could have been done anywhere else a gym that was almost empty. I don't know, this sentence sounds a little weird. It was a dead giveaway. Another student arrived and began lingering in the area to my left. He stared at me for a few seconds and then started smirking. You know, that narcissist smirk. Once he had my attention, he turned his back to me so I could see his shirt, which read, quote unquote, "Chase." In smaller letters underneath the word was Manhattan. These attacks using symbolism are common reports among people who are targeted. The kid with the Chase shirt left shortly after, and his total stay was about 10 minutes. This episode is an example of noise, crowding, and symbolic attacks. And I'll tell you, with regard to the shirts, when I lived in Manalapan, New Jersey, I pulled into the post office parking lot, and I parked towards the front. I just wanted to run in and empty my post office box and then leave. Well, 2 things happened. I locked my car door, I turned, and the woman that was walking out of the post office, she just kind of stared at me, and she was wearing a black shirt. And on the cover, it printed on it was "Chosen One." And I had just had a conversation on the phone with another targeted person like a couple of days before, or maybe the day before. And we were talking about chosen people, So here it was, this gang stalker, this loser, this agent, walks out of the post office with the word "Chosen One" on it. And lo and behold, it definitely was an agent, because that perp stole the SD card out of my dash cam. I was in the post office for literally, I don't know, a minute and a half. And when I walked out, got in my car, turned my car on, turned the dash cam on, I get a flashing light that the SD card is missing. That chosen one stole my SD card. Unbelievable, right? True story. But anyway, this was part 4 of Tactics of the Hidden Evil, and I look forward to questions and comments down below. Signing off for now. Please hit the thumbs up